Hello, everyone, and welcome back again. We're having a juicy conversation with John Davis, and I promised him from the last session that I would talk about my personal session with him. When I found John Davis on another YouTuber's channel, he resonated with me. You just feel it. It's not in the head space. It's just in the heart space, and you're with your intuition. And I just felt the authenticity of his energy and his speech. And so I reached out, and y'all know how I love sessions. I just love them. So I did take advantage of his discount that he's offering us of $50 off of a session, and I had a session with him. And my issue was is really my doubt. It was my doubt. I always felt like I wanted to channel. I want to, why am I not channeling? And so I spoke with John about that, and he informed me, which I did not know, that my favorite word was want. I kept saying, I want, I want, I want. And he showed me how, of course, and this is what I have taught, that when you want something, you're validating that you don't have it. And so what I loved about that session with John is that he would not co-sign on my belief in my lack. He would not co-sign on my belief of smallness. And he gave me some practical exercises. I think he actually asked, well, what, I have a trip this weekend. Where am I gonna go? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna ruin this. I don't know, that the doubts and anxiety that we talked about. But I actually got like a few of the things right that he was gonna be doing that weekend. And that one exercise for me just kind of helped me release my doubt. And after that, I experienced a whole new level of my intuition that I was denying. And so his sessions are impactful. They are transformative, and he helps you to really, really acknowledge what you already know and step into your power. So, John, did you want to share anything about that?
Well, it's interesting. Every session that I do, there is no set formula. The only real set formula in my sessions is that I sit down and do a channel writing beforehand. But I have no idea where they're going for each person, because each person is having their own subjective experience. And so there's never a set pattern. It's always only what that person is there to get. And in your case, I mean, I was leaving to go to the beach to hang out with my best friend, who I've known since I was 5, and you pegged it. You pegged that I was going to be on a beach with my friend, and I mean, you were like bing, bing, bing right there. And the interesting thing that I love your that I didn't co-sign. I love that. I love that expression. I've never heard that before. I believe that everyone is complete and whole and divine, and that their experience is a matter of their belief, not their ability. And so when I talk to somebody, I can't co-sign because I know what their ability is. Their ability is unlimited. And so when someone says, I think this, I'm like, well, why are you thinking that? Because that's what you're creating, you know? And so a lot of times people will come and you'd be surprised some of the things that people will come to talk to me about that they have no idea that they came to talk to me about. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I guess that is why I'm here, because that explains why this other thing that I was to ask you about is happening, And so it's really, I love the fact that I kind of see the whole session almost like channeling, just like opening the source and listening and hearing and being part of that process. So I'm so glad it was impactful for you. Every one of them is impactful for me. I learned so much from the sessions.
I did too. And another thing I just want to share to everyone, one of the things that I had told John was, I've been told I have a block. And the first thing John said was, who told you you have a block? And I'm like, I've been told by several people I have a block. It's preventing me from channeling. And And so he just, again, he was like, it's your belief, which I knew that to be true. I was trying to get out of my way with it. But he was like, it's your belief in that block that solidifies it for you. And it's one of the things where I heard you, John, on another YouTuber's channel where you talked about what Jesus told us 2,000 years ago was so simple that we couldn't wrap our brains around it. We made it difficult. And if we are creators, right? If what we believe and what we speak and what we say and think creates an experience, then of course, if I hear that I have a block, I'm gonna automatically harden that block. And so that's really what is impactful for me, for John Sessions, is he really makes you confront your beliefs and your speech. And if you do that, right, you become aware of that. What do? We create differently. We create a different experience. So it was impactful. I definitely, I experienced it. I experienced.
But I'll tell you this: the hardest thing that I deal with in my sessions is getting the people comfortable enough to say that they're already creating their experience, because they don't realize that they already are creating their experience. Many of them have a hard time believing they're worthy of being a creator, and it's a matter of realizing that I am thirsty. Next thing you know, you're like, God, I'm parched. I am hungry. Your stomach growls. I, I am. I'll give you an example. I'm very aware of this belief, but we all fall down sometimes. And I was in a car, and we were talking about a movie, and I said, "What's that actor's name? I can't remember that actor's name." And then I realized I was saying I can't, and I went, "I am remembering Sean Penn." And it shifted that quickly. The second I turned it to I am, 2 weeks ago, I could not find my car keys. Anybody else have that problem ever? Can't find your car keys, right? I was like, I can't find my car keys. I can't find. And then I was like, oh, why am I saying I can't? I am finding my car keys. A picture popped into my head of a tool bucket. And I went down to my garage, and my keys had fallen out of my pocket into a tool bucket full of tools. And I reached my hand into the tool bucket, and I pulled out my keys. I am finding my keys.
I love
that is the key to creation, is you are creating already. It's not about finding God. It's about acknowledging your connection. So when I was 22, I was helping a friend unload a van that was full of boxes of clay. He was a professional potter. And I picked up the first box of clay, which was 80 pounds, and I turned to set it outside of the van. And when I turned to set it outside of the van, my spine broke in two. And the reason my spine broke in two is because they picked me up, they took me to the hospital. The doctor told me that I had spina bifida occulta, which for most people doesn't mean much, except for they got a couple malformed vertebrae. For me, I had three vertebrae right above my pelvis that when vertebrae form, they come around like this, and they come together fused like two hands praying. I had three that when they came around, instead of fusing, they bypassed. So you had these weird little wonky things like this. And with the extra 80 pounds of the twisting, my back went pump and popped off. And when it popped off, I was paralyzed. And doctor told me, he says, John, we don't think you're ever going to walk again. And we know that you're never going to have a physical career. Even if you gain movement back, you probably will be on, in a chair or crutches or something. You probably will never be, because you don't have the strength in your lower back to hold your upper body up. And I knew in that moment I could take his belief, or I could take my belief. And his belief was that I was going to be paralyzed. My belief was I was going to be a stunt man.
Wow.
Right. And I mean a stunt man, like a real deal Hollywood stunt man. Right. And I was on my way to getting my black belt at the time. And back in those days, I had long Fabio hair. So I was like all styling. Right. And I was buff and strong as a rock. And I was like the man. Right. And the only reason I was helping the guy unload his van, because I thought it'd be a great little workout. Right. And so here I am with my long Fabio hair, my big muscles, being told I'm never going to be the stuntman that I wanted to be and never get my black belt. But that day in the hospital, I said, I am becoming a stuntman. And what happened was I started moving my neck. I put my thought, word, and deed into working my neck. Now the injury is at my pelvis. And the next day I started working my shoulders. The next day I started working my arms. By day 30, I moved my hips. By 6 months, I was walking around. At 1 year, I was back to what most people would consider normal. I didn't consider it normal because I wasn't back to my rock hard masculine self. Right. I was not there yet. At 1 year and 6 months, I received my black belt. I tested for my black belt and got it. And then I went to the United Stuntmen's Association workshop in Washington State. And I jumped off a 3-story tower into a fall pad. I went on to do over 4,000 live comedy sword fighting stunt shows all over the world, including the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan. I've broken a bottle over Brad Pitt's head in the movie California. I have worked with the fight choreographer from Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Highlander, Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have done more physical things that most people will ever do in their life only because I took my belief. And it was that career that led me to the first psychic. Because at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just taking the belief.
And you just intuitively knew that you intuitively started speaking those words, believing it, and then doing it. Wow.
Right. People will give you belief all day long. And if you take their belief, you're living their life and not your own. You need to take your own belief and live your own belief.
I love it.
If that makes any sense at all.
I love it. I love it because we've even had conversations about, when a doctor says, you have, take terminally ill people and say you only have 6 months to live, and all that. Just how even in those situations, it's not really healthy for a doctor to say that, because that person, if they believe, if they add that belief system to those words, they will, as God, we create that experience.
You want to hear one of the weirdest healing stories I ever encountered for me personally? I was walking up from performing my sword fighting show. I had already started speaking about my past life stuff at that point. I did my comedy sword fighting show for over 20 years. So I have a long history, and all of my regression stuff happened during that time I was doing that. But I was walking up out of a show one time, and there's a man who, a fan of our show, was there every week, and he's standing at the top of the aisle with a woman, and he says, "John, this is my girlfriend Maria. She's got something on her bucket list that involves you." I was like, "Okay, this is weird." He says, "She wants to read your tarot cards." And I said, "Okay." And the second I said, "Okay," I knew she was sick. I just intuitively, cognitively knew that she was sick. So I took her behind the scenes, because at the point that this is happening, I'm literally wearing tights and a flouncy shirt, right? Right. And we walk behind the scenes, and I sit down at the picnic bench, and she starts reading my tarot cards, and she lays them all out. I said, "Do you mind if I hold your hand during this?" And she said, "Sure." So I just hold her hand. Now I'm holding her hand. And I hear my higher self say to her higher self, "Are you ready to let this go?" And I hear her higher self say, "Yes, I am." And then I hear my higher self say, "Then pass it to me and I'll pass it on." And I felt this energy come through me and out the top of my crown. All right. She did her reading. It was a fine tarot card reading. It was nothing to write home about, but it was a fine tarot card reading. And we went on about our business. The next week, I'm walking up the aisle out of the show again, and he's standing there alone. And he holds the phone. He says, "Talk to her." Hands me the phone. I go, "Hello." She says, "What did you do to me?" I said, "Well, what do you think I did to you?" She says, "I think you healed me." I said, then that's what happened. What did you have? She said, "The doctor told me I had 6 weeks to live. I had terminal cancer. You were on my bucket list of things to get done before I died. They can't find cancer in my body right now."
Wow.
Now, what happened? She was looking for healing. her bucket list sent her to someone who could help her find her faith. Then when she said, "What did you do to me?" I asked her, "What do you think I did to him?" Which means, what is your faith? She said, "I think you healed me." I said, "Then that's what I verified her faith." And she was healed. How's that for an interesting story?
Was she happy? Was she happy?
She went on to become a kickboxer.
Oh my God.
Like a professional kickboxer. Yeah. She was awesome. I love that kind of story, because it's like, not only was she told that she was going to die, she came back and thrived.
Wow.
Yeah, huge story.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Shantae, what do you have? What question do you have for John?
Is that a hand raised or a high five?
I do believe.
It's both. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we can.
John, it's very nice to meet you.
Well, thank you. It's nice to meet you as well.
I have a question, actually two questions. So when Jesus was crucified, I wanted to know, what was life like? And then also the second part was, when he was resurrected, what was life like after that as well?
Okay. Life in respect to society?
Yes.
It was very much a huge patriarchal society. People ask me, what did it feel like in the society? And I have to say, it's almost like the time of the Taliban. It's that Sharia law, the male figure, and women subjugated, and it was very, very hard. After the resurrection, which my memory of the resurrection, it's actually if you go to my channel, my website's called johnofnew.com, not johnofold.com, right? Because I believe I'm John Davis, not John. I don't know who that other guy is, right? But when I first saw Jeshua after the resurrection, in that regression, that correlated with a channeled session from another reader who actually channeled that moment for me. And I had this moment where I looked up and he said, "John of old, John of new, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you, I'm with you, I've always been with you, I always will be with you." And that idea, that identity. So after the resurrection happened, it was really an interesting time. Most people don't understand why he went to the crucifixion in the first place. What was happening was, he was becoming a rock star. He was becoming the Elvis of the time. People were flocking to see him from all over the place. And he was becoming very well noticed by the Roman authority. And so he was becoming a threat, because his groups were getting so large, they looked like an army. And so what did he do? Is he took the teachings and he took a select group of people, and he said, "You're going to go here, and you're 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 going to go here." And he sent them out to various parts of the world. Peter went to Rome, John went to Turkey, Jeshua's brother James stayed in Israel. And so he was sending people out to various parts of the world to spread the message out wide. Why did he do that? Because he knew the only way for the teachings to live on was for him to die. Because if he was gone from the expression, there was nothing else for them to chase, because they can't chase an idea. And so, or thought. So they would literally go, I am leaving this world because of this. And then when he resurrected, he said, look, see, this is truth. But it wasn't long lived. He did go back to the other side. And then after it was a time of real serious turmoil. And people often ask me about Revelations, the book of Revelations, because it was written by John when he was imprisoned on Patmos. And people say, well, what about all these prophecies and all these doom and gloom prophecies? The interesting thing is, my memory of that teaching, that was a teaching itself. That was actually a warning, not about an apocalyptic future. It was a warning about the oncoming onslaught of Jeshua's followers by Nero. It was literally warning everyone that he's going to try to starve you out. He's going to try to bring war to you. He's going to do anything he can to wipe out this ideology. And it's really interesting, is the time of struggle. It was kind of like being in the underground sneaking these messages around because the authority did not want it to happen. And it took the authority 300 years before they adopted it. So it was not a night suddenly a bright future because of his resurrection. It was a struggle. It was a hard fought struggle to keep the illusions alive. And then, now this is going to be very controversial to some. And then there were some who heard the teachings and started manipulating teachings for their own benefit and started saying things that were not in alignment with the teachings. And if you read the Gnostic texts, Jeshua's brother James calls Paul the great liar, because Paul is the one who was creating all these rules that matched what the Romans believed. Paul had a rule that said all men are not allowed to grow their hair longer than their shoulder, because that's the way Jeshua wore it, Jesus wore it. Well, Paul never met Jeshua in life. His conversion happened by seeing a vision of him on the road to Damascus. Paul never met Jeshua. And so in the concept of Paul dictating what Jeshua was teaching, it makes no sense. Paul is also the guy who said it's okay to beat your slave so long as he doesn't die, because he's your property, right? And so he wasn't teaching the teachings of Jeshua. So it was a very tumultuous time after the resurrection, because of the fact that it was literally us trying to keep the teachings alive. And John ended up being imprisoned for it. And most of the other disciples ended up being crucified or stoned to death for it. In fact, John was the last living disciple. And now let me tell you a story I found in the Gnostic text about John in his old age. He's in Ephesus, Turkey, where he's supposedly buried. I have not made it there yet. I'm going to make it there probably within the next few years. The story goes like this: John, as an old man, is in the temple, and they're all saying, please, you were the last one to see Jeshua. Please, come up and say, tell us what he taught. Tell us what he's teaching. And John got up, and he's old man. He slowly walks to the front, and he gets up on the front. And he says, "Love one another." And then he turns and he slowly walks back to his chair. And they say, tell us more, tell us more. He says, I can tell you no more until you learn this. And the interesting thing about that story is that once you learn this, there is no more. Just love one another. Just be the love.
Yes.
Does that answer your question? I kind of went off topic, Shante.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Quite welcome.
Thank you, Shante, for your question. This I felt like somebody else had their hand up. Margaret, did you have another? Did anybody else have any other questions? I know I've held you all for 2 hours, but it has been wonderful.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, John. I'm really enjoying this session. And I have to go back to forgiveness, because recently, and this session is just on time. It's just right on time. I just had an experience with someone who I knew from the past. The treatment of that person towards me was not nice. And I grew up not liking this person, but I forgave. I went through the whole forgiveness, love, forgiveness, love. Okay, this is when I was 18 years old. I'm 60 years old now. And recently, this person came to visit me. And the first week the person was here, I treated this person wonderfully. Wonderfully. I greeted them in my home, treated them nicely. But then something came over me where it just changed. Where everything that person did to me came back up. Mm-hmm. And I knew in my heart, I knew forgiveness and love was what I needed to express and portray. And I would do it. For 2 days, I will be fine. I'm in love. I'm nice to this person. I'm treating them fine. but the feeling of that feeling always came back. And it was, this person stayed with me for 6 months. They left this morning, in fact, this morning. And I couldn't sleep. I could not bypass this feeling of resentment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Yes.
I would pray about it. I would pray and I would ask God, please release this. Why am I feeling this way? This is not me. You know, I try to stay, I stay in love. I know to practice love. I know forgiveness. I know all of this. Why is this energy? It felt like an energy in my system that will not move. And last week, we were sitting on the porch here and we were talking. Not this person, a very religious person, very religious. And she was talking about forgiveness and whatever she was saying, it triggered something within me. And something, I actually felt the energy move through me to tell her what you are preaching and your experience, my experience with you, it doesn't add up. So I told them how I felt and how you treated me back then, and they could not remember. They could not remember. That was Wednesday. Okay. Thursday, we were sitting on the porch again. And that same, another conversation came up. I said, but that is not the way you were with me. This is what you did. It doesn't add up. Okay. And there was after that, the second conversation, and a release came over me that I felt, oh my God, thank God. I felt the release of that energy that I was holding within me for so long move. Why did it happen? Why can't I have just let that go? I'm trying to understand why.
Oh no, I love this. I'm so glad. I was writing down notes as you were saying, for very specific reasons. First of all, you have to remember your subconscious beliefs are as valid as your conscious beliefs, right? They were experiences that you had, and one of the things you said everything was fine for a few days, and then suddenly everything that she had done to me came up, right?
Yeah.
Well, the words "had done" means that your subconscious mind came up. Your subconscious thoughts came up. Your associations were there. So what that Buddhist quote said earlier was, our life is suffering because of our habitual responses to our subconscious belief. This was a habitual response. You habitually, because she triggered an habitual response.
Okay.
But then you started asking yourself, well, why? Well, why? The actual asking of why is validating that you have it. Why am I? So you actually started validating the habitual response. And then you started praying, and you said, I prayed for it. So what is praying? Praying is asking not to have something, right? And, when you talk to the people who they're told to pray, they go, well, please take this from me. Please take this from me. Or please let me have understanding. Basically means I don't have understanding. Please take this from me. Means I have this. If you want to change the experience, you've got to change the focus of the experience. When they asked Mother Teresa to go to an anti-war rally, she refused. She said, have a peace rally and I'll come. Because she understood focusing on anti-war was focused on war, not peace. When you have a memory of a past that is a subconscious habitual response, you can react to it positively or negative. You can go, oh, well, that's the way it was, but I am this way now. Or oh, that's the way it is. I'm going to be that way now. You define it into your present moment one way or another. Now you can define it as that's the way it was and I'm doing this now, or you can define it as that is the way it is now. And once you start defining it that way, you start declaring in the energy of God that that's the way the world is. And so the world will show you more of it. Now, the other part you said was that the other person couldn't remember, right? Nobody wants to remember when they're not loving, right? Nobody wants to remember when everybody wants to think of themselves as perfect. And most people use religion to make themselves superior. And they say, these are the rules you have to believe. And if you don't believe this, then you're not this. And I always believe this because I am a Christian, or I am a whatever religion you are, and you can find beautiful in any religion, but you can also find some terrible things in religion. In the book of John says God is love, right? But in the Old Testament, it says that God sent 2 bears to kill 42 children because they made fun of a bald man. Right? Where's the love in that? God turned Lot's wife into a pillar of salt because she looked back. Where's the love in that? Right? So there's contradictions in all of it, but a lot of people will take that belief, that religious belief, as what makes them powerful, what makes them superior, and what forgives them for any of their transgressions so they can forget them. Did that answer anything for you?
Yes, John. I just wanted validation. I just wanted her to say, I remembered and what I did. And I didn't even want for her to say, I forgive you, because I know there was nothing to forgive. Because I look at okay, you are a reflection of me. It's like, what are you reflecting to me about my behavior and me? So these are things I know, and these are things I was trying to work out.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Why did you need to be validated? Did you feel unvalidated?
At first, I just wanted her to. After time, I didn't want to be validated. I did not. But what I wanted her to basically I wanted her to know what she put me through, how she made me feel as an 18-year-old woman, young woman.
So did you want her to know that so she'd feel bad about it?
Could be.
So you wanted to inflict fear upon her.
Could be.
Yeah, well, that's very natural. An eye for an eye, right? Right. But the interesting thing is that that's you succumbing to the fears that she gave you. But you don't have to succumb to the fears and go back at her and try to balance something. You experienced the lack of love from her. What a blessing. Yes. What a blessing, because you now experience the lack of love so that you can come back to feeling love. Do you want her to feel the same?
No.
Yeah, you don't, because you're a loving person, right?
Yeah.
So that was just your subconscious belief.
Yeah.
Right? And a hurt child that you were trying to hurt the other child, just like a child would do, right? That's just you're just reacting from that ancient history. And you have a choice. You can live in that past and relive that past, or you can live in the present and change into something different. And the reason you're having this whole conversation is because you're aware of that something's off in this whole conversation. One of the reasons you're having this conversation is because you yourself are feeling the lack of resonance with the whole experience, which is why you're asking a question. And that question itself is you saying, I want something different. I want something more loving, because this just doesn't feel right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so the only way you change that is just to say, okay, I release what she did, and I forgive her.
Yeah, I did. I did many times, until this time it's real. This time it's real.
Well, and that's the thing about prayer, is they want you to do it many, many times, right?
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more you're declaring you don't have it, right?
Yeah.
If you want to change something in your life, think about it like an Amazon order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put your order in, but when you put an order in on Amazon, you don't call them the next day to order it again.
That's
And you don't call them and say, when's it coming? You just put it in and trust that it's coming. So just trust that that you've released her and you are moving forward into something, a much more harmonious relationship. But here's something else. I will say this. She heard you say, this is how you treated me.
Yes.
She probably manifested that experience into her life.
Yes.
so that she
Yes.
herself can go, oh, I should reflect on this at the end of my days.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
people don't come together and have experiences like that if it's not a co-creation.
That is exact. You know, you are so good. You are really, really good.
all I do
When
is
she first came
speak
here,
my truth.
yeah, when she first came, I will take her in the park to walk, and that's what I said for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but you were here for a reason. And I said, after I told her how I felt and what happened, I said, 1 week before you leave, we are having this conversation so I could release this and let it go. And you can go back home happily, and I am fine. I said, I have no hate for you. I said, I can sit here now on the veranda with you and feel comfortable where I couldn't have done it before. I couldn't have done that before.
What a loving gesture you have made for you and for her.
Yes.
I mean,
Thank you.
that is the mission right there, is to love
Yeah.
one another enough to give each other a respite from their fears and
Yes.
anxieties.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. It's a lovely conversation.
Yes, it is. I love this session. Beautiful.
Me too.
Thank you,
Me
John.
too. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, Margaret. And one of the things that you said that I love, and which is the essence of A Course in Miracles, is what is this situation reflecting back to me? Because the universe is a great big mirror. And when you said that, I thought that was great. Every situation is showing you something about yourself. So I love that. So, John, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to the viewers and talk about what you offer. Again, John is gracious enough to offer a $50 discount off of his session for everyone who views these recordings.
Every session comes from a place of love. I dedicate as much time as I possibly can in my week to doing sessions, specifically because everyone's different circumstances are exactly that different. And so my goal is to help them find their way and help them step into their role of their own divinity and come to that space. And the channel writings I do for them are I literally step aside and I let whatever come through. And then, it's been fascinating to watch the way that unfolds. The other thing is I get a lot of positive feedback because of the fact that people are taking what they're learning and using it, because I don't really care anything. I would love that when I leave this world, everyone has gotten the lessons and forgot who said it, because
yes,
there's the potential of putting someone on a pedestal because they said something.
yes,
Everything I'm saying is just a universal truth, and it's just and if it doesn't ring for you, it's not your universal truth, right? For me, it's a universal truth, but it has to ring true for each one of you, and only follow what you believe. Don't follow what anybody else tells you to believe. Don't only follow what rings true in your heart to be loving and caring. And if you can do that, then you are finding your way to God, because God is love, as the book of John says. And when you're loving yourself into the world, and like I said, when I love driving, so driving gives me love in return. That's because I was putting God into my driving, and God was giving me God in return, because God is love. And so, love your life and live loving. I call it live loving. If you're interested in learning more about the information I'm talking about, I have over 500 videos on my channel, and that channel was, in my opinion, divine. I started that channel this past September, and there's over 500 videos on there already. All of the information on there for free. I answer questions that come up in comments or that are emailed to me. I make videos on those. There's definitely at least one a day, and sometimes there's multiple, depending on what hits me at the moment. And so you can find that information there on my website. If you're interested in meditations, I got meditation recordings. I have a miniature course on how to facilitate healing. I also have a miniature course on clearing your conscience, which is a big thing for people. And and those are all on there. And actually, I'll give you a big secret. If you go to my channel, and I bet this past week I put up a sale on those things too. So if you're interested in getting a discount on those, when you go to that video and follow that link, and it'll tell you to use the coupon code I am love. Actually, I think if you just go to my page and just use the coupon code I am love, all one word, you'll get a big discount on stuff. But that's going to end next week. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. It's not about the money for me, and it's not about the vanity of fame or anything. It's literally about the lessons for me. And the second it stops being about the lessons and starts being anything else, then I will stop doing it. So realize this is not about anything other than sharing the love.
And we will close out on that. Thank you so much for joining. Everything is in the description box. Thank you, everyone who joined the session today. We could not do this channel without the presence of you all. So thank you so much. Love and light. We have the Apostle John, known as Love, the Apostle of John, with us. So love, 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 love and light. Everyone have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.